All right, it looks like I'm in the right place. Hopefully, okay. Well, hopefully you can hear me, and if you can, I'd appreciate just throwing a comment out there. I am trying something new, so just yeah, I'd love to hear from you if you can see me, hear me, all that good stuff. So, my name is Christy Hillock. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I am so glad that you're here with me. As I said, trying a little bit new technology for me on how I'm broadcasting this. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to see that you can see me. Thank you. And thank you for sharing, Janie. Great. Okay. So I'm just going to get started then. So I have just a few things to talk about first. So included in the description of this video are all sorts of links, a shopping link with my host code. Hi, Diane. Thanks for joining me. Also, my calendar link. My next class is on March 21st, and that will be in person at my house. And so if you would like to join me, I would love to have you. Just click on the link and RSVP. And then I have a link for Paper Pumpkin, a link to join my team, the Queen Bees. So just quickly, during celebration, we have a joining special where you, hey Julie, where you can sign up for, the usual deal is $99 to receive $125 in product. During celebration, you also get 2 free stamp sets on top of your $125, and it all ships free. So it's a huge deal, and then you get 20% off. Definitely, you can maximize your value by picking the most expensive stamp sets, assuming you like those, which I'm pretty sure we do. So that is about joining. If you have questions, please reach out. I'm happy to help you. And being on my team, we have a lot of fun together. We just craft and share ideas. And so it's a bunch of really, really nice women. Okay, and then I have a Facebook group where we also share ideas, and a YouTube channel. So that's kind of all about me. I do want to mention that celebration ends on February 28th, so we're running down to the very end. And then the Altogether collection went live a couple of weeks ago, and that is a great collection. I've shown a couple of things with it before, so definitely don't miss out on that. The blends are great for doing skin tones, doing animals, doing all sorts of different things. So I think you're going to really love those. And then finally, the Beyond the Horizon Paper Pumpkin is what's available for subscribing right now. And you can also subscribe with a prepaid during celebration, and you'll receive freebies on top of your prepaid. So that is all the chattiness, and now we're going to get to the fun. So let me show you. I'm going to just change, let's see here, change how I'm showing this. There we go. And this is the card that we're going to make tonight. Thank you all for sharing. I appreciate that. So this card uses the Marbleous, I think that's simply Marbleous, I'm not exactly sure the name, designer series paper that is free with a $50 purchase right now. And then I also used the pineapple from the Island Vibes stamp set. So we made another card during my class this week that used the leaves and this little potted plant. And I just was so, the pineapple was actually kind of my favorite image from this. So I'm going to show you how I did this. And then this sentiment is also a celebration set. It is called Special Moments, and it has wonderful sympathy, sorry, not sympathy, but sentiments, lots that go on the front, and then a coordinating one that goes on the inside of the card, which is always nice to have. So just really sharing some great products that are free. This is the rest of that paper, so it comes in several different colors and it is just so striking. So I've had a lot of fun with this stack too. All right, so I'm going to do just a little bit of technique kind of stuff tonight. I'm going to set that out of the way. Let's see here. For some reason it's saying my mic is muted, but I think you guys can still hear me, right? So, okay. So I took a Bumblebee card base. So it is 5.5 by 8.5 and then scored at 4 1/4. So I am just going to burnish that score line to make sure that it folds a little bit more flat. And then I have a mat here of Evening Evergreen. And so this is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And you'll notice I cut out the center using one of my dies because I just don't see why I should put so much extra cardstock on there when I can save a little bit there. And then I have, let's see, this piece of Designer Series paper that we're going to cut up and stamp on. And then I also have this circle that I cut from the Layering Circles dies, and then I embossed it with the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder. So that is going to be kind of the layout here. And I'm just going to bring in my Stampin' Trimmer. Let's see here. So this piece is 6 by 6 to start, and we are just going to trim it down to 4 by, oh, sticking tonight, 4 by 5 1/4. So that'll just layer right on top of our Evening Evergreen mat. And I'll set that out of the way now. So we can go ahead and start putting this together. Even though, you know, there's still quite a bit of actual work to do, but I am going to get the gluing done here. So get that there. And then I wanted to use the more dramatic side of this paper for my background, just because I really haven't used it much, certainly not as much as I've used the more subtle side. So we'll just mount this on here and just eyeballing it to make sure it's reasonably straight. I know we've talked about this before, but I always feel like I do a really good job of straightening things. And then I come back later and look at it and I don't even know how it got so crooked while I wasn't looking. But I swear it's not my eyes. So we'll go ahead and get this here. Okay, now if you remember when I was trimming off the pieces of Designer Series paper, I did have this little strip left, and I am going to go ahead and put that on my card liner, just because it's always nice to carry your theme through to the inside of your card. Now you could also take another piece of Designer Series paper and decorate the flap of your envelope, or you could do some stamping on the envelope that coordinates. So both are options that really just bring up the entire project a little bit, even a little bit more than just the card. All right, so we'll get this inside and then we'll be ready to stamp. So this piece of basic white was just 4 by 5 1/4. All right, so we are all set there. So I'm going to bring back in the 2 by 6 piece of Designer Series paper. And what I want to do is we're actually going to heat emboss this. So I am bringing in this is just an embossing buddy that we used to sell. I think it's like cornstarch or something, but you can also use like a dryer sheet. You just want to get all of as much of the static off of the paper as you can, because the little bits of embossing powder will stick where you don't want them if you don't do that. So now I'm going to bring in my Versamark, and let's see what else. I've got 2 stamps that we're going to do with Versamark, and then we'll do the pineapple actually in soft suede ink as well. So first we'll just get that Versamark on here. This will help with getting the powder to stick a little bit better. And then I did ink it with soft suede, and now I'm just going to stamp this down. Oh, that did not do the way I wanted it to for some reason. Oh, you know, I think it did. It's just that there's a piece of the paper that's a little bit different. Okay, so we're going to give it a try. I'm bringing in now my very fancy coffee filter and my copper embossing powder. And so now when you order your embossing powder, it is sold in sets of 3. So you get the metallics pack, and actually it may not both packs be sets of 3, I can't remember, but there's a metallics pack and a kind of basics pack that has white and black and clear. So there is this one. Now I'm just going to close up a few things before I start causing problems. And we're going to go ahead and do our sentiment at the same time, just because it's easier to get the heat tool heated up once and get it all done. So we'll just stamp right on here. And that looks pretty straight, so we'll take that. And then same process, I'm just going to bring back in my embossing powder. So I have tried like plastic things that were designed for pouring embossing powder and other, you know, different crafty things. And they have so much static that I just went back to my low-tech coffee filter here. It's nice because you can, nothing sticks to it, and then you can just turn it right into a funnel. So easy to do. All right, so this will be just a little bit loud while I am embossing these. When you do heat emboss, you don't want to just leave the heat in one spot on your paper, because you will end up burning either the paper or the powder, and it just won't do how you want. So I always let it heat up away from my project. You can heat from the back, but I find that when I do that, I can't see as well when it starts to turn. Let's see, trying to make sure that I show you the magic, because this is just one of the best techniques in paper crafting. Alright, and it feels like that we're starting, so you can see it starts to turn shiny. There we go. And you just want to leave the heat on until it's shiny and then stop. You don't want to leave it on past that reaction. So here again, we're starting to turn, and we're done. Okay, and no more noise. So there is that. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is just bring in our paper snips and trim out this little pineapple. So I always leave a very narrow halo as I'm fussy cutting. Your eye is naturally drawn to the image, not the halo, so it doesn't need to be perfect or even terribly consistent around the entire piece. So you do want to remove the excess paper just so you're not fighting against as much when you're doing the cutting. And then you also really do more moving the paper than the snips. So this is pretty detailed, which is why you do want the smaller scissors rather than the large size. So just get this going, and then we will bring in some ribbon and some embellishments, and just like that, you'll have a beautiful card. So the reason that I think the pineapple, one of the reasons that I really liked the pineapple image is that it can be used, its symbolism is hospitality and celebration. So I thought this would be a great card with the big congratulations sentiment to send to someone who just bought a new house, or, you know, had some exciting change in their lives that you want to commemorate with a card. So, and then it's probably a very, very subtle effect, the fact that we stamped this image on the designer series paper instead of just plain white cardstock. But I just love this color. It reminds me of pineapples, and I felt like the copper kind of balanced it out to make it look a little more realistic. So as we're doing all of this, just as a reminder, I really appreciate you liking and sharing my videos. It does help me reach new people who might enjoy crafting with us. And if you do share, please make sure that you comment in this video's comment feed that you shared, so that I can enter you in the weekly drawing. And typically the prize is a pack of handmade cards. Yes, Janie, Hawaii. I would love to go to Hawaii, go to the pineapple plantations. I think that would just be such a neat experience. So this week actually is Jane Patterson won for sharing last week's video. So thank you to Jane, and I will get that to you. And then we're just going to glue this right on here. And I do need to grab, let's see, a little bit of seal and some dimensionals. So what I like to do is just run a little bit of seal across the back of my panel. And now I'm going to bring in this Windowpane checked ribbon. It's actually in the tulip suite, but I just thought that it would be really pretty with this project. So I'm just kind of estimating exactly how much ribbon I want here. And I'm just going to do it in kind of a Z fold behind the circle stack. So now we can, let's see, want it to be roughly like that. So stick those down, and so you can see that seal just kind of helps to hold the ribbon. And now I'm going to come behind and add dimensionals that will also tack down that ribbon just a little bit and pop up this panel. And you'll notice this will be the only part that is popped up. And that is really personal preference. I know some demonstrators love to pop up every single layer, and others really don't pop up much at all. My thinking is that the post office can handle about one layer, and after that they start to get frustrated. So, or, you know, basically just charge us more. So I'm usually pretty good with one layer. So there is that. And now I'm going to bring in my banner pick a punch. As you can see, this These punches are great. You get two different ends. It has guides for a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, or a full inch on the the area where you're going to feed your cardstock in. And then I always just flip it over. Make sure you can see. Make sure that it's nice and centered there, and then trim that off. Now I'm going to come to the other side just with my snips. And this is not exact. I'm just kind of guessing where I want it. And I'll bring it back in. Now I do always flip back to make sure that I'm using the right side, just because I have done that many times where I didn't flip back and I was very unhappy with what I ended up punching. So now we've got that, and we will just kind of set that on there and make sure we're happy with the positioning, and then we'll get it glued on. And liquid glue is nice for this just because it sticks to textured things a little bit better. So you could also use your Seal Plus or your Tear Tape. And there that is. Now the very last thing that we're going to do is bring in my take your pick tool, if I can find it. I'm sure it's somewhere. All right, and these 2020 to 2022 in color square gems. All right, and so for the first one, I used the cinnamon cider squares. I think this time I'm actually going to go with Bumblebee, and we can decide which one looks better with it. The cinnamon and cider just looked sort of coppery to me, so that was why I did that the first time. And I am just feeling very embellishy right now, so I think I'm going to go with 5 rather than the 3 that I did on the first one. So that is just not quite sitting straight, so I'm going to turn it with my little spatula here. Okay, and that is it. So just a quick and simple card that has, I think, pretty big impact from all the shine and the different elements that we did incorporate here. So I hope that you loved this project, and I would love to hear any ideas that you guys have for future projects or techniques, and also what you think about using StreamYard versus just the way I've done it in the past. So I really appreciate all of you who are here, and also all of you who catch the replay, and I hope that you have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next week. Okay, take care. Bye.